Hello world, it's Austin. Let's talk about being transgender and Christian. So this video is a little bit different than ones I have done in the past, and that's because I think it's really important to be honest with you all and to be open about the fact that things are not always okay. I think on this channel and in these videos I talk a lot about how Scripture really helps me in hard times, and how especially like the Psalms can be a real source of strength and a place to go when everything feels really bad, right? And I've talked about that a lot, but I think it's important to recognize that there's not always a thing that's going to make you feel better, and that faith and Christianity and Scripture and these things that are touchstones for us is not always going to be the thing that you find like the perfect amount of comfort in. Does that make sense? It's not a cure-all. Religion is not a cure-all for all the bad things in the world, and in fact, religion and Christianity in particular has been responsible for a lot of really bad things. So we have to wrestle with that. This has been a really hard week for a lot of people. At the beginning of the week, we had the shooting in Las Vegas, where over 50 people were killed and hundreds of people are wounded. In previous weeks, we've had hurricanes that have hit Puerto Rico and have hit Texas and have hit Florida. We've been getting more and more information about the LGBTQ people that are being persecuted in Chechnya. I could just go on with this stuff. Today, specifically today, two things happened. One is that Pope Francis made a statement specifically about gender-confirming surgeries for transgender people, and said that the Catholic Church should not support them because, essentially because he says that they don't help to create life, because you could become sterile and not have biological children. And I've made a video on that before, so I'm not going to go into that here. I think the main thing about Pope Francis' statement is that he doesn't really understand much about what it means to be trans, or what gender-confirming surgery does for trans people, which is create life. The other thing that happened today is that the U.S. Justice Department has put out a new statement saying that the law that was considered, the non-discrimination law that had been considered under the Obama administration to apply to non-discrimination against transgender folks, is no longer going to apply that way. And you can look up more information about that, and there are good organizations that are going to be fighting that, including the Transgender Law Center and others. But that's just another thing that's now kind of on our plate to think about. And you just kind of, I shouldn't speak for you, I get overwhelmed by the enormity of the world suffering, and I get overwhelmed by the number of bad things that happen that I feel like I can't personally do anything about. Like, there are things that I can do to help. I can donate to organizations like relief organizations. I can call my representatives, which I encourage everybody to do. Just like, get ready to call at least once a week about whatever's going on that's affecting you and the people you care about, and people that need help. So there are things you can do, but at some point there's nothing else you can do, and it's really hard to figure out how to live with a sort of constant pressure like that. So that's where I am this week, and I wanted to just share that with you. And I know this isn't like our normal sort of trans and Christian set where I bring out a Bible verse or a Bible passage. The thing that I am going to read you this week is a poem, and I think that when sometimes there are points at which other forms of speaking and writing can touch us in ways that sometimes Scripture can't, even though they're about the same thing. Does that make sense? So, the poem I'm going to read you this week is called Wild Geese. It's by Mary Oliver, and it's a very famous poem. but it is something that I always come back to and think about, and it just runs around in my head in times when I feel like I've given all that I can give and that I have run out of steam. So this is Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and over the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. So that was Wild Geese, and when I hear that poem, I feel my connection in the family of things. I feel a connection not just to the wild world and creation in general, but I feel a connection to other people, and I feel a connection to God, and this poem helps me remember that in times when I just feel exhausted. It helps remind me that even when I feel like all I've left to give is gone already, there are other connections where strength and love is flowing into me, right? And then it can flow back out of me again. So it's not like it just goes out of you and you're drained and you're done. It's like it's always going to feed back into you because you are connected. So that's where I am this week. That's where I am this month. Thanks for watching this video, everybody. I know it's a little bit longer than some of the normal ones, and I know it's a different format, but yeah, I just thought it was something that we should try and talk about. I want to give a special thank you this month to Emmy Kegler and Justin Soom, and to all the other Patreon patrons over at the Trans and Christian Patreon page. I'm going to be updating that with not completely new, almost all new perks for the month of October, and I'm very excited about it. So, yeah, even though I am sort of like in a down place in this video, I want you to know that I'm very excited about what's going to happen in the future, and it's okay to have down days because things are going to come back up and it's going to be okay. The thing that I always trust, even when things are the worst, is that I believe that God brings life out of death in some way, even when I don't know how that's going to happen. So things are going to come back up, and so I just want you to be I just want you to know that I'm excited about what's going to come next and what's going to happen next, and I'm going to be actively working on that over on the Patreon page and in future videos and everywhere else. We'll see you back here for sure, first Wednesday of November. Alright, everybody. Peace.